Welcome to the channel. You know, Hollywood has always struggled with gambling-themed films. For most, they follow this simple formula of failure, disgrace, redemption, for extremely flawed characters. Throwing aside a romance, a little drama, boom, you got a film. But we know that there are exceptions that really showcase the talents of top writers, directors, and actors. So with that in mind, I give you my top 10 gambling films of all time. If you like the video, I'd really appreciate it if you clicked on the thumbs up button. And also, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, that would help too. YouTube likes it and it really helps us a lot with our growth. Thanks a lot. There are links to most of the videos in the description. Some of the links go to an affiliate through Amazon, which I am an affiliate of. And then others will show you if it's on like a paid service like Netflix or something, if it's available to watch now. Okay, so let's get on with it. First, a disclaimer. My name is in the credits for this film as a Kickstarter backer. I invested in the film because I thought it was an interesting tale. Having known card counters over my 40 years of gaming experience, with none of them expressing a religious thought ever, I thought the religious angle would be interesting for most viewers. It was, and it turned out to be a pretty solid documentary. Rotten Tomatoes critics gave it a 100% rating, but just 6 reviews. But the audience gave it a 67%. The audience score I thought was fair. You're either going to like the premise or not. It stands up well as a documentary on card counters regardless. I don't think the film addressed the reconciling their card counting activities with their trying to be good Christians. Otherwise, it's a really good documentary on what card counters go through. Not all gambling films have to be dark or tell a tale of woe, although Vegas Vacation does provide Clark Griswold with a great deal of woe. Clark takes the now a bit older kids and Ellen to Las Vegas. Every Vegas cliche is in the film, but hey, you know what? We like it when it happens to the Griswolds. Clark loses all of his money to the casinos playing blackjack, but then goes to an off-strip property with Cousin Eddie and loses playing games like War and Guess Which Hand. Although not up to the writing standards of the earlier Vacation films, Vegas Vacation works because of the satire and the characters we have seen struggle in past films. To those who only know of Stu Ungar, the poker player, they saw a guy who won the main event of the World Series of Poker 3 times and who died because of his drug addiction. This film succeeds by doing a solid job of trying to tie his life together and explains how he got to where he was. It's not as detailed as the book One of a Kind, which dives into his relationships with poker people such as Mike Sexton and Bob Stupak, but as a gambling film, it's really good. Michael Imperioli is outstanding as Stuey. The plot of the film has Stuey sharing stories about his life on the night he dies in a Vegas hotel room. He shares stories of growing up, becoming a successful gin player, his victories at the poker table, and the failures. It's a tragic real-life story that was actually given a lot of respect by Hollywood. 1980, Atlantic City. Young me is a young gambler in Atlantic City. More to come on that in the future video. But the sights of the film Atlantic City resonate with me, so the nostalgia aspect adds to the appeal of the film. But even if you've never been to Atlantic City, you will appreciate this classic that won several awards globally and was nominated for 5 Academy Awards. In 2003, Congress added the film to its annual list of motion pictures on the Library of Congress National Film Registry. The film tells the story of several people who work in the casinos of the expanding city. Susan Sarandon plays Sally, a waitress who aspires to be a blackjack dealer. Burt Lancaster plays a washed-up former gangster who gets involved with Sally and her drug-dealing ex-husband. To be fair to this list, the gambling aspects are secondary to the story, but they hover enough around the main characters in a city that had recently exploded with the news of legalized gambling that I felt it fit on the list. Another film on the Library of Congress's registry is The Hustler, a 1961 film starring Paul Newman, Jackie Gleason, and George C. Scott. If you watched The Color of Money with Newman and Tom Cruise, put that experience out of your mind and go back and watch The Hustler. Newman plays Fast Eddie Felson, an up-and-coming pool player. He's trying to step up to the big time among pool hustlers, and in order to do so, he has to first get noticed by the legendary Minnesota Fats and then defeat them. Fast Eddie wins, loses, wins, and, well, you're going to have to watch the rest of it for the story. But where the film strikes a nerve is not in the wins and losses, but how they shape Eddie as a person and how Fats and shady bookies and promoters stand as obstacles to overcome. For film buffs like me who check out HBO Max every month to see what has been added to the Turner Classics Hub, this film is a masterpiece worth watching again. It was nominated for 9 Academy Awards, winning 2, including 1 for black and white cinematography. Owning Mahowny is a 2003 film from Canada that stars the late great Seymour Hoffman as a Toronto bank employee who embezzled more than $10 million from his employer in order to support his gambling addiction. The film is based on the true story of Brian Malony, who did just that. He embezzled millions from the Canadian Imperial Bank of Commerce. Hoffman is absolutely perfect as the flawed Mahowny, a man who spends his days skimming money from customer accounts at the bank and his weekends at the casinos in Atlantic City. The supporting cast includes Minnie Driver and John Hurt, two veterans of film that stand up well next to Hoffman's commanding performance. This film is a gem that not many people outside of Canada knows exists. It's definitely worth watching. On this list, I'm referring to the 2006 James Bond film with Daniel Craig, and not the 1967 farce starring a boatload of A-listers from the 60s. However, Orson Welles easily made the best Le Chiffre, and Peter Sellers and Woody Allen were both entertaining as James Bond. The 2006 version is known for replacing the original casino game of choice for Bond, Baccarat, with poker. It was Craig's first outing as Bond, and as they had done in the past, producers decided to alter the Bond character to be a bit more darker and introspective than they had with the previous Bond, Pierce Brosnan. Bond superfans will know that the Ian Fleming novel for Casino Royale was quite dark and portrayed Bond more as an unfeeling killer than any of the film adaptations. Had they done that in this film, it probably would have flopped with the general public. But they made every effort to bring out Bond's demons and rage while keeping in mind that most of the moviegoers wanted to see stunts, lavish sets, and innuendo. I remember when the film first came out, and I left the theater thinking that the poker scenes were a bit goofy. But as I've rewatched it over the years, I realized that there was little else they could do with the need to appeal to a wide audience, most of who barely understood the ins and outs of poker. First, let me be clear that this is the 1974 version of the film, not the 2014 mess that scored a 43% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes, nor is it the 1980 made-for-TV abomination starring Kenny Rogers, of Kenny Rogers' Roasters fame. No, this is the 1974 version starring Jimmy Caan, Paul Sorvino, and Lauren Hutton. Caan plays a professor with a gambling addiction. His leak is sports betting, and he's into the mob for mid-five figures. Not to give away the entire plot for those of you who have not seen it, but Caan's character goes through the ups and downs most gamblers face, except these have life-changing consequences. It's a wonderful script made by James Toback, who also wrote Bugsy. If you like edgy New York films from the 1970s, this will be high on your best gambling films list too. For the majority of poker players, Rounders is easily number one in any list of best gambling films, and it has good reason to be tops for so many people. Where the film succeeds to me is the ability to convey the constant pressure players feel, from the moment they step into the card room to when they leave, whether they're up or down. All sports movies attempt to convey this type of nervousness, but most of them don't hold up because they're athletes detached from the reality most of the rest of us exist in. That is not the case in Rounders. Most of us have been the Mike McDermott character played by Matt Damon, and some of us have even been the Teddy KGB character brilliantly portrayed by John Malkovich. You could close this video, go to your local card room, or even play online and have those same feelings of loss, redemption, and elation. To me, that is the beauty of this film. It helps me personally that it's shot in this film noir style that teeters on the criminal aspects of those who run the card rooms and the ethical dilemmas faced by McDermott and Worm, played by Ed Norton. So yes, I get those that believe this is easily number one for them, and if it wasn't for just how much I love the number one choice, I'd be there with you. Martin Scorsese's 1995 epic tells the story of Eighth Rothstein's rise and fall as the mob's point man overseeing their interest in the Vegas casino. Robert De Niro plays Rothstein, a character based on Frank Lefty Rosenthal, who was sent by the mob to oversee operations at the Stardust, Fremont, Marina, and Hacienda. Many of the characters in the film are based on real-life figures. Joe Pesci plays Nicky Santoro, a mob enforcer who strays from the job of protecting Ace and causes problems for Ace and the mob bosses. Santoro is based on Anthony Tony the Ant Spilatro, who was sent by the Chicago mob to Vegas in the 1970s. Here's a fun fact: Spilatro's attorney was future Las Vegas Mayor Oscar Goodman. Goodman played himself in the film. The film succeeds in presenting the role of the mafia in Vegas's growth through the 70s and 80s, before the corporations took control. It also succeeds in showing how Nevada authorities were well aware of this and cooperated so long as their interests were being met. Scorsese makes it abundantly clear that the tit-for-tat relationship between government and the mob was well known to everyone involved. The cast is outstanding. Casino was the 8th film where De Niro and Scorsese worked together. The supporting cast of Joe Pesci, Sharon Stone, James Woods, and Don Rickles were perfect for their roles, particularly Don Rickles and James Woods. For you Vegas buffs, the interior casino filming was done at night in the old Riviera Casino. The entrance to the casino in the film was the entrance to the old Landmark Hotel. So there you have it. Those are my top 10. What are yours? Comment below and let me know. And I'll see you on the next one.